Welcome aboard Flight Simmers. My name is Rowan and welcome back to another video. I'm a real life commercial multi-engine pilot and today we're looking at the CAL's DA42. So the last two videos we've shown how to pre-flight and start up and run through the run-up. And now we're going to be looking at some departures of the aircraft. I thought it would be appropriate for us to depart from first flight, considering this is my first flight in the DA42. Now this is a short field takeoff due to the length of the runway. So because of that we are taking off with approach flaps and we're going to be rotating at 74 knots instead of 76. Also because this is a short field we're going to be pitching for VX instead of VY, which is 79 knots. So we are going to have to pitch quite aggressively. So it may look really aggressive, but trust me, it is perfectly normal. So let's get ourselves relined up on the taxi line. So we're going to take off the parking brake, introduce a bit of right throttle or right engine, and get ourselves back over. And then we can start lining ourselves up. So we're going to bring on our landing light, check our fuel pumps are on, and basically check the approach, make sure it's clear. Because it's short field, we want to make sure we use up every single inch possible. So we're going to taxi right up to the edge and basically line up on the center line. Now all takeoffs, whether if they are short field or not, are going to be done from static. We're also going to plug our heading. And what we're going to do now is slowly introduce the power to 100%. We want to do this in about 4 seconds. 3, 4. Check for any issues. So we've got 2 yellows, all green, and once we're ready we can let go of the brakes. Airspeed alive. Start pitching back, and we're going to start pitching quite aggressively, and we've got a positive rate, so gear up. Start pitching up for that VX, which is 79. Lovely stuff. And start reducing that pitch and trimming the aircraft to make it easier for us. Okay, so now we've cleared our 50-foot obstacle. What we're going to do is bring our flaps to up and then start pitching for 85. And then start pitching for 90 because that is our VY, and we're going to start climbing to around 1,000 feet so we can complete our traffic pattern as we are. So we're going to start bringing that power back and level off the aircraft. So we're going to start making our downwind now. Try not to go past. Try not to exceed our 30-degree bank. And then we are going to basically do our checks so that we are safe to land. First one being checking our gear. Checking that all the lights and the indications are working. And once we're about midfield, what we're going to do is deploy the gear, which will be right about now. So gear down. And then once we're at a beam our touchdown point, we are going to start reducing the power and introduce our flaps, which is about now. So we're going to bring back our power, introduce our first notches of flaps, and start pitching down roughly 3 degrees. Should be aiming for around 105 knots, so we want to increase the speed a bit more. Now do remember this is going to be a short field, so we want to come up slightly higher, so it's going to be a slightly shallower descent, and then start making our base. Once we are on our base, we can then introduce our landing flaps. We want to be aiming for around 85 knots on final, so we can start slowing down a bit more. And before we turn final, we want to make sure that we've got everything. So our gear's down, our trim's neutral, our pumps are on, and our parking brake is off, and then we can start turning final. So we can start bringing our power back a bit. And then aiming for the number 3. And there we go, and start applying our brakes. Now the sounds of that is absolutely amazing, especially with the tyres. The moment we touch the ground, there's a lot of, you can tell that there's a lot of friction, especially within the brakes. You can hear them physically slowing down, which is quite amazing to hear. So let's go to another airport so we can do a normal takeoff and landing. Okay, so we're now on the ground at Rocky Mount Wilson Regional Airport, located in North Carolina, which is roughly a 45-minute trip in the 42 from first flight. So what we're going to do is a normal takeoff in a flaps up takeoff config. Our rotate speed will be 76, and we also have quite a strong crosswind coming from right to left. So what we're going to do is take off with a bit of right aileron at first so we can counter that wind, and then we're going to slowly bring the aircraft into neutral with the ailerons, and then climb out, bring up our gear, and then start pitching for 90 knots. So let's go. Two yellow, all green, airspeed alive. There's rotate. And aileron into the wind. Positive rate of climb. Gear coming up.
Don't sink. Don't sink.
We're going to disregard that don't sink because that's MSFS being MSFS.
Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink.
Okay, our gear's up.
Don't sink. Don't sink.
And still pitching for 90. So start lowering the nose a bit so we can accelerate.
Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink.
And now we're going to start turning our crosswinds, and we're going to be leveling off at 1300 feet. So a little bit high. Start pitching down a bit, get back down to 1300. There's our crosswind, and start turning our downwind. Should be at roughly 50% power or 45 on the downwind. Don't want to exceed 30 degrees. And then once we're on our downwind, we can start prepping for the landing. So what we want to do is test our gear. It's working. Once we're midfield, we can bring our gear down. Come down in altitude. There we are. And then once we're beam our touchdown point, what we want to do is introduce our first notch of flaps. Which is about now. So do remember that we have a strong crosswind, so we want to cut in a bit sooner because this wind is going to be pushing us over to the right away from our downwind. So we're going to start making our base turn a bit early whilst ascending. Just keep in mind this crosswind is quite strong. And then once we're on base, what we can do is bring in our landing flaps, slow down to 95 knots. Lovely stuff. And then once we're turning final, we want to start slowing down to 85, which I'm slowly doing already. Just remember, this crosswind is going to keep pushing us over to the left. So we gear down, trim neutral, parking brake off, flaps landing. Slow down a bit as we're fast. Aileron into the wind. And slowly bring out that power as we enter ground effects, and then start to straighten off the nose and maintain that centre line. Lovely stuff. So handling there was actually quite well in terms of how the airplane was feeling in comparison to the crosswind, and also with it floating as well. The aircraft doesn't typically float that much, which is quite nice because that's literally how it feels in real life. This aircraft is literally like a brick. You could cut the power and the aircraft will literally drop. So as I entered ground effect thing, you couldn't really feel it too much. It wasn't wanting to float unless if you were too fast, and if you're at the correct speed, then the aircraft should literally just cut and drop. And that's pretty much it for a normal takeoff. So those are two different types of takeoffs which we can do inside of a DA42, being normal and short field. Soft field doesn't typically occur in a 42. I believe you can do a soft field, but there are lots of parameters which you have to take into account, and it's not typically recommended anyways. But yeah, this has been the Diamond DA42 so far. If you want to see more videos like this, then please let me know. I know that I'm trying to keep it basic at the moment with these tutorials, but if you want more in-depth tutorials, for example with manoeuvres, then please let me know, or what type of manoeuvres that you'd like to see. If there's anything you think we can improve on with these tutorials as well, please let me know. And I also want to know if any of you have flown the Diamond DA42 in real life. See what your opinions are, because obviously I don't want to just rely on my opinions. I want to see what the whole community is feeling like on this aircraft. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Rowan, and you've been watching Information Alpha. See ya.